Right.
Okay, hey, how you doing there? This is Joel back here in the shop, and what we're going to do today is we're going to go over some of the items that are inside the Flint Striker kits that I put out. And one of the things I noticed, a lot of people may not understand how to use. You might have watched the video on how to use it, but it's the char cloth. It's a tiny little bag of char cloth, and you say, well, what is char cloth? It's what gives me my ignition from my flint and steel to actually catch a spark. But how do you actually make char cloth? I'm going to show you how we do that, and you can make it the same way. These are the little kits. Each one of these cans can be used as a char can to make it. So what we'll do is we'll just start here. Again, when we build a fire, we have the flint and we have the char cloth, and it's what we're using to catch the actual spark. So you just simply take your flint striker out back. But at any rate, here's my flint striker right here, and I'm simply going to actually strike on this here piece of flint, and that piece of char cloth that we're going to show you how I make, I hold right there on my thumb, and I'm going to catch that spark. And it's just all it needs is a small spark to catch it. And once you catch it, let me find a piece of sharp, there we go. What we're gonna make our char cloth out of is simply a bar towel. I buy them at the store. These are little wash rag size. They're made of 100% cotton. If you use anything other than cotton or linen, you're gonna have a mess and it's not gonna work. So I get the hems off of them. And you know, you don't have to use a giant pair of scissors from the 1900s, but they seem to work pretty good for me. And all I'm going to do is cut these hems off, and then I'm going to simply cut these in about 1-inch thick strips like this. Then I'm going to take the 1-inch thick strips and I'm going to cut them into 1-inch squares approximately. It don't have to be perfect. And you just cut these like that. And again, when I usually make my char cloth, because I'm obviously kitting these things out, I make quite a bit of it at a time. So I would go and I would probably do 2 or 3 of these dish towel size cloths and cut it into 1-inch squares like that. Okay, so we got our char cloth, we've got it all cut up, and you notice I got quite a bit cut up here into little 1-inch squares. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take a tin. Now this is a large tin because I'm preparing so much char cloth. And I poke a hole in the top of the tin. And if you see right here, you see a small hole right in the top of the tin. And that's going to start letting when this cloth starts charring, it's going to let it off gas. And you simply put your cloth inside the tin, leave it loose, and then you shut your tin down on top of it. In there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this on a forge. You don't have to have a forge. You can actually use a fireplace. I got this wood stove burning, and I'll show you here in just a second. Start seeing a lot of smoke come out of it. And that's, of course, that's the coal burning right there, but you'll see some, and I'll grab my tongs here in a moment. If I pull this out right now, right here, you'll see little puffs of smoke coming out of there. Well, that means that actual materials, it's not burning because it's in an oxygen-deprived environment. So it's just charring. So we don't want it to burn. So we just want to keep heating it like so. And it's going to actually start spewing, and you'll hear it spewing when it gets really, really cooked. And again, this is something you can do anytime you got a fire going. I'll show you how you can just shove it into a wood stove as well. It's spewing out, and you can see the flames around the bottom. And that's where this gases from this charring cotton is getting its oxygen to burn. But you want to let this sit there and continue charring until you get no more smoke coming out of it. And it can sometimes, depending on how hot your fire is, it can be a few minutes. Typically, I will watch it here on the fire when I'm blacksmithing. I'll throw a can on, I'll pull it off. When it quits smoking, let it cool, and then you create your char cloth. You may actually even see a flame sometimes shoot out of there, and that's okay, as long as it's burning outside the can and not inside the can. Okay, and there we're good. You notice now we're not seeing much smoke come out of there at all. So we're just simply going to set this to the side right here, and we're going to let it cool. And then when we open that up, once it cools, and my gauge on how cool it should be is I should be able to touch the can. And right now I can't touch the can because it's obviously too hot. So we'll just hold off, let her cool, and then we'll go on and show you what it looks like when it comes out. Okay, something like this, you probably don't have, you may have an anvil, you may not, but if you got an anvil or something like that, that's really heavy, it's gonna suck that, it's gonna create a sink and it's gonna suck that heat out of that can a lot faster. So don't set it on something wood or flammable, just set it on something that's not gonna transfer the heat and catch fire. But it'll just be a few seconds here, or a few minutes here, and we'll have this ready to go. We're cool enough now, so we're going to go ahead here. We're going to open this up, and what we look at out of that big pile of cotton that went in there, this is what we have right here. And there's our char cloth. And you always want to actually try it out, because right now, if it's not cooked enough, it'd be a good time to put it back in there. Now, if you start looking in there and you see a lot of brown, that tells you it's probably not cooked very well. So we're going to go ahead, try this char cloth out, make sure we put it back in the can here, but make sure we don't throw a spark into there. Try it out and see if it works well, because I can always put her back in the can. So right here, got our cloth, got our flint, got our flint striker. There she goes right there. So we know it's good right there. And there you know your char cloth is good. Okay, so with that, hopefully this helps.